The Army has purchased an emerging technology for Abrams tanks, Bradleys and Strykers designed to give combat vehicles an opportunity to identify, track and destroy approaching enemy rocket-propelled grenades in a matter of milliseconds, service officials said. Called Active Protection Systems, or APS, the technology uses sensors and radar, computer processing, fire control technology and interceptors to find, target and knock down or intercept incoming enemy fires such as RPGs and anti-tank guided missiles, or ATGMs. Systems of this kind have been in development for many years. However, the rapid technological progress of enemy tank rounds, missiles and RPGs is leading the Army to more rapidly test and develop APS for its fleet of Abrams tanks. The Army is looking at a range of domestically produced and allied international solutions from companies participating in the Army's Modular Active Protection Systems (MAPS) program, an Army official told Scout Warrior. The idea is to arm armored combat vehicles and tactical wheeled vehicles with additional protective technology to secure platforms and soldiers from enemy fire. Vehicles slated for use of APS systems are infantry fighting vehicles such as Bradleys along with Strykers, Abrams tanks and even tactical vehicles such as transport trucks and the emerging Humvee replacement, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle. DRS Technologies and Israeli-based Rafael Advanced Defense Systems are working with the U.S. Army to consider acquiring their recently combat-tested Trophy Active Protection System, a vehicle-mounted technology engineered to instantly locate and destroy incoming enemy fire. Army has purchased a number of Trophy APS systems, and a number of another kind of system as well, to evaluate them, including one called Iron Fist, also from Israel, and another from a U.S.-based manufacturer called Iron Curtain, service statements said. The Army aims to put Iron Curtain on a Stryker, Iron Fist on a Bradley, and Trophy on an Abrams tank, to evaluate their effectiveness, Lieutenant General John Murray, Deputy Chief of Staff, Army G8, said in a written statement. The one that is farthest along in terms of installing it is Trophy on Abrams, Murray said. We're getting some pretty good results. It adds to the protection level of the tank. Trophy has an interesting capability, Slew 2Q. We're finding that we can incorporate that into the installation on the Abrams. Iron Fist on the Bradley is also moving along, Murray said. The service is working on installing the system on the Bradley, considering to the size, weight, and power requirements of the system and the amount of space available on top of the turret of the vehicle. APS systems, he said, come with additional considerations. In particular, he said, are considerations for the safety of soldiers alongside the vehicles who are dismounted. As we do this, the interesting thing is going to be safety concerns, Murray said. Anything that shoots off an armored vehicle, X amount of meters, and makes something blow up, is not good for the integrated dismounted mounted operations. So we have some concerns about tactics, techniques, and procedures and how we adjust those. The Army's expedited APS effort is being managed by a coordinated team of tank automotive research, development and engineering center engineers, acquisition professionals, and industry. It is intended to assess current APS state-of-the-art by installing and characterizing some existing non-APS systems on Army combat vehicles, Army officials said. General Dynamics Land Systems, maker of Abrams tanks, is working with the Army to better integrate the Trophy APS into the subsystems of the Abrams tank, as opposed to merely using an APLIC system, Army and industry officials said. Being engineered as among the most survivable and heavily armored vehicles in existence, the Abrams tank is built to withstand a high degree of enemy fire, such as some enemy tank rounds, RPGs, rockets and missiles. Abrams tanks can also carry reactive armor, material used to explode incoming enemy fire in a manner that protects the chassis and crew of the vehicle itself. However, depending upon the range, speed and impact location of enemy fire, there are some weapons which still pose a substantial threat to Abrams tanks. Therefore, having an APS system which could knock out enemy rounds before they hit the tank, without question, adds an additional layer of protection for the tank and crew. A particular threat area for Abrams tanks is the possibility of having enemy rounds hit its ammunition compartment, thereby causing a damaging secondary explosion. APS on Abrams tanks, quite naturally, is the kind of protective technology which could help U.S. Army tanks and tank-on-tank mechanized warfare against near-peer adversary tanks, such as a high-tech Russian T-14 Armata tank. A challenge with the technology is to develop the proper protocol or tactics, techniques and procedures such that soldiers walking in proximity to a vehicle are not vulnerable to shrapnel, debris or fragments from the explosion between an interceptor and approaching enemy fire.
My name is Captain Joseph Thomas. I'm a 19 Alpha Armor Officer. I'm the Company Commander for Bravo Company 112 Cav, Grey Wolf Brigade. Today we're qualifying Table 6 on the M1A2 Abrams Set V2. This is the culminating point for the crew. This is their crew qualification. They've conducted a Table 3 with the crew, which is a dry exercise of the Table 6. Conducted a Table 5, which is an opportunity for them to shoot and test their systems. This is just a stepping stone for the rest of the qualifications that the soldiers will achieve. Table 9 being the section, Table 12 being the platoon, and then eventually we'll execute the company CALFEX, which is the company qualification that we're all looking forward to. I couldn't be more proud of my soldiers in the way they're performing. We've got pretty good throughput so far, and the scores are coming back, and they're doing really, really well. These guys are setting themselves up to be superior crewmen and distinguished crewmen.
A pair of United States Air Force B-2 Spirit stealth bombers hit terrorist targets in Libya on last Wednesday. The strike killed more than 80 Islamic State terrorists. In conjunction with the Libyan government of national accord, the U.S. military conducted precision airstrikes Wednesday night, destroying two ISIL camps 45 kilometers southwest of Sirte, outgoing Pentagon Press Secretary Peter Cook said in a statement. The ISIL terrorists targeted included individuals who fled to the remote desert camps from Sirte in order to reorganize, and they posed a security threat to Libya, the region, and U.S. national interests. While we are still evaluating the results of the strikes, the initial assessment indicates they were successful. While the Northrop Grumman-built stealth bomber might seem like it would overkill to hit targets inside permissive airspace where there is no air threat or surface-to-air threat, Air Force officials said that there are circumstances that could have made the B-2 ideal for the strike. Nonetheless, the Air Force didn't necessarily choose the B-2 itself. Such assets are usually requested by the combatant commander. These things get requested from the AOR, Area of Responsibility, not pushed by Big Blue, an Air Force official told me. Certainly, the USAF is happy to provide forces that they invest a lot of time and effort into lobbying for investment from Congress. We saw that both in OOD, Operation Odyssey Dawn, and when the Raptors were used in Syria, but not Libya, too. This isn't about being choosy about the platform so as to maintain a narrative of relevance. The Libya raid also likely demonstrated some new capabilities that the U.S. Air Force has been developing for the stealth bomber, coordination between drones and a B-2. There is now a RPA squadron at Whiteman AFB, so the crosstalk has been there for a couple years, the Air Force official said. The RPA is being present to handle the survivors after a B-2 pass. It has been a dream of the community's tactics development experts, weapons officers, for a while now. Another feature that makes the B-2 attractive to military planners is the fact that the Spirit has excellent loiter capability, which means it can stay over an area for a very long time. There are others that can do this too. For example, the B-52 has more fuel capacity, and the B-1 has a slight disadvantage in terms of fuel efficiency, the Air Force official said. So, again, the confluence of factors really determine the B-2 is ideal despite being the stealth bomber. Another reason to use the B-2 in lieu of other bombers is its payload. While the B-1 can carry a larger payload, the B-2 has the ability to retarget its weapons much more efficiently and accurately in flight. Sure, the B-1 can carry more, but the global comm structure is better suited for the B-2 in this regard because of their airborne mission transfer capability that can rapidly reassign each bomb's designation with a new mission load in the air, the Air Force official said. An airborne mission transfer allows you to avoid having the cruise type and new coordinates for each new bomb. The other platforms have some ways of doing this too, to varying extent, but not on the same scale, and not with a lot more effort and opportunity for human error. For a sensitive or fleeting target, real-time, error-free, updates can be invaluable. As such, the B-2's ability to retarget its weapons more efficiently becomes critical. Hypothetically, the B-2 takes off with target locations that cover the most up-to-date intelligence available. Then it gets some updates in the air. It can change a handful by hand, if necessary. It's vastly more easy to know strike pre-planned target locations than it is to add, by hand. If again hypothetically, there becomes a lot of changes to be made, then it is much easier and reliable to use the machine-to-machine transfer capability, as the Air Force official explained. The U.S. Air Force's tiny fleet of B-2s has been practicing these tactics since before the Kosovo War in 1999. These things have been in the works for a while now, the Air Force official explained. The airborne mission transfer is something that gets practiced by the crews in almost every single long-duration training flight. It's a very unique capability tactic in terms of the scale involved with retargeting even a handful of impact points for JDAM. Just imagine if you needed to do that with up to 160 impact points, each B-2 carrying 80 GBU-38s. Or if there are 3 B-2s in a strike package, 240.